Love had survived distance, but now it had to face something far more brutal: war. The mountains of Kargil stood silent, as if they already knew what was coming. Snow-covered peaks, cold winds cutting through bone, and somewhere hidden within those heights, enemy forces, armed, prepared, waiting. India wasn't given a choice. It was called to rise. Operation Vijay began, not as a mission of glory, but as a necessity of survival. Cut to Vikram Batra, orders received, deployment confirmed. No hesitation, no second thoughts, just one quiet realization settling in his mind. It's time. Miles away, Dimple Cheema didn't need a phone call to understand what had changed. The news was enough. The tone of the country was enough. The silence between them said everything. She held the letter in her hands, her fingers slightly trembling, and whispered only one word: war. For the first time, love felt powerless. This wasn't distance anymore. This wasn't waiting for holidays or letters. This was something far more unforgiving: life or death. At the base camp, under a sky filled with indifferent stars, Vikram sat quietly. Around him, soldiers prepared, checking weapons, adjusting gear, masking fear with routine. The air was thin, the cold unforgiving, and the silence heavier than any noise. He looked up at the sky and thought, somewhere under this same sky, she's looking too. That night, he wrote what would become one of his final letters. Dimple, things are about to get intense. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know this: if I return, it will be with pride. If I don't, it will still be with honor. And remember, you are not alone. You never will be. The climb began. 17,000 feet above sea level, where breathing itself feels like a struggle, where every step feels like resistance, and where the enemy holds the advantage from above. It was a near impossible mission. Move forward, the command echoed. Bullets tore through the air, striking rocks, snow, and sometimes men. Soldiers fell, others pushed forward, but Vikram didn't slow down. He never had. He led from the front, crawling through ice, advancing under fire, pushing beyond exhaustion. When the enemy's machine gun nest blocked their path, a deadly choke point, he didn't wait for orders. He moved closer. Every inch forward felt like a gamble with death. Closer, closer, until finally, boom! The nest was destroyed. Silence followed for a moment, broken only by heavy breathing. Then came the radio transmission, calm, confident, unmistakable. Ye dil mange more. It wasn't just a catchphrase, it was who he was, always pushing, always demanding more, from himself, from the moment, from life. Victory echoed across the camp. Soldiers celebrated, commanders acknowledged, and a hero was born. On the battlefield itself, he was promoted, captain. But nothing about him changed. No arrogance, no pride in rank, because he wasn't fighting for medals or titles. He was fighting for something far greater: India. Back home, Dimple saw him on television. The world now knew his name. The nation called him a hero. But as she watched the screen, her emotions were far more complicated. Pride filled her heart, but so did fear, and beneath both, a quiet realization. She whispered softly, "He belongs to the country now." Then came the next assignment, point 4875. Even more dangerous. Vertical cliffs, hidden enemy positions, zero room for error. It wasn't just a mission, it was a gamble. The commander warned him, "This mission is risky." Vikram didn't pause. "I'll go." No debate, no hesitation, just a decision made with clarity. By now, his body had already taken a toll. Fever, fatigue, injuries that would have stopped most men, but he stood anyway. Because warriors don't stop when they're tired, they stop when the mission is complete. Scene 18, the battle. The assault began with chaos. Gunfire echoed across the mountains, grenades exploded against stone, commands were shouted, and survival instincts took over. Everything blurred into noise and motion. But for Vikram, one thing remained clear: the objective. In the middle of the battle, a fellow officer was hit. He fell, exposed, unable to move. "Sir, don't go," someone shouted. But Vikram didn't listen. He moved forward. "You have a family, let me go." That wasn't just courage, that was sacrifice in its purest form. Time seemed to slow. He reached the injured officer, pulled him to safety. For a moment, it looked like he had done it again, defied death. Then came the shot. Then the explosion. The noise faded into silence, the chaos into stillness. His final words escaped his lips: "Jai Mata Di." And in that moment, the soldier fell. But the mission didn't. The peak was captured, the enemy defeated, victory was secured. The promise. He had once said, "I'll come back," and he did, wrapped in the tricolor. The nation mourned loudly, crowds gathered, tears flowed, but Dimple stood differently, silent, because some pain is too deep for tears. Inside her, a quiet voice whispered, "He didn't leave me, he became everything." Scene 22. Time moves, she doesn't. Years passed, the world moved forward, life offered her chances to begin again, but she didn't. Not out of weakness, not out of fear, but out of loyalty. Because for her, love wasn't something that ends, it was something that becomes permanent. Her life after. She chose a quiet life, a classroom, children, a purpose that gave back to the world just like he did. Every day she shaped young minds. Every day she carried his memory, not as pain, but as strength. And every morning, without fail, her hand would rise to her forehead, touching the place where once his blood had become Sindor. Some love stories end with goodbye, some fade with time, but theirs didn't, because he chose the nation over himself, and she chose him over the world. Together, they created something beyond love, something eternal. Balidan Param Dharma.